Hello besties, today we are doing three-dimensional box packages using the famous three-dimensional drink sleeves. But before that, let me welcome you to our channel and make sure to follow all our social media platforms under Misfit Makers and click that subscribe button so you'll be notified of any new content. Check out our website and our Patreon for more information. Okay, so at this point I have already adhered my blocks. This is from dimensional drink sleeves and I adhered them with epoxy and let them sit there. Some people like to adhere them on the turner. I just like to lay them on a flat surface. So I showed you guys a couple inks there that I'm using. That's what I started with, but then slowly I moved myself to other colors. You'll see in a second. So as you see here, I'm using alcohol inks and I got caramel and butterscotch. I wanted to start on the lighter side. You can always build upon your colors, make them darker, but it's harder to go from dark to light. So I wanted to start off light. The reason I'm using a little paper towel is because I did not want to give it a wood grain look because the sleeves already have those little grains on them, and if you don't want those little grains on them, you could always epoxy it first and then do this step, but ain't nobody got time for that, so I went straight for it. I thought using a paper towel maybe would not give them the streaks that a paintbrush would, so that's what I'm using. After this, I thought, well, maybe I could have used a sponge, like a non-porous sponge, or maybe even like a little micro cloth rag, but then I was afraid it would absorb it too much. I don't know. I was just overthinking it. So I just went with it, and I went with my first coat of this caramel or butterscotch or both and gave it all one coat. Make sure you do those little triangles, all the edges and everything. So since we're here, I know I went through the sleeve adhesion part pretty quickly. I have other videos going step by step on how to adhere your sleeves, but basically what I did, I mixed a little bit of epoxy, slathered my stainless steel tumbler, and I'm using a 24-ounce plump from Tipsy, and then I slid my rings and then just let them sit till they cured. So, okay, so here we are with the first coat. I was actually talking to some friends, some of my besties. We were in Room. If you don't know about Rooms in our tumbling group, go check them out. We craft together and we just talk and laugh and work. But anyway, I was with my besties and they were like, I hadn't told them what I was making, and they're like, is it a block of cheese? Is it blocks of butter? Like, rude, totally offended. I was like, these are packages, and they're like, oh, well, it doesn't look like that. So that's when I was like, okay, it's gonna need at least 2 or 3 coats. Look, I was even dumping it on there. And then I decided to bring out the darker colors, Havana Brown and I think Sepia. And these are from Pinata Brand or from Tim Holtz. I started off in the bottom because I was like, what if I go too dark? So I figured the bottom would kind of give me an idea. And if I messed up, I could always, you can't really see the bottom. So anyway, I was like, yes, this is the color I am going for. So I decided to go ahead, give everything a couple of passes, just using my same method with a little paper towel, taking a little bit at a time. Remember, these are Amazon boxes. Half the time they come here beat up, broken, ripped apart. So if they're not perfect, it's okay. So here it is after I did a few coats of that darker brown. Now I'm going to apply my decals. Look how cute these are. I made these little labels, and then I cut this out of 651 vinyl, and then I found this Amazon tape. SVG or PNG off of Google, and I just sized it and printed them off on 651 vinyl. And let me tell you, the hardest part of this is sizing. I had it sized, and then AB comes and he's like, no, like, your packages are little, the tape is not to size. So I had to reprint them again. And what I'm showing you guys here, or trying to show you guys here, is that I kind of like overlapped the top of my tape, like going over the box, because you want to make it seem like it's wrapped around the box. And I'm sorry I was off camera on that first part, but I'm going to show you guys on the second part. So obviously I just centered them, and then I left some hanging over at the top, kind of wedged it in from the top, and then used my X-Acto blade to trim it up. I wanted to make sure my quote-unquote Amazon tape wrapped around the cup as if it was a box, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm doing here. So I wanted to make sure that each box had a strip of tape, and I kind of alternated side by side. That way when you can see the cup, you can see tape at all angles instead of just turning the cup a certain way. So that's kind of the plan I went with. After this, I added some Amazon decals, you know, the famous Amazon with the little smiley face. And then I also added a custom little label that says Misfit Makers, and I made up some kind of address. I think I said Pleasantville, which funny, one of the besties was like, oh my gosh, I'm from Pleasantville. It actually exists. So anyway, I thought that was funny, but I just made it all up. So have fun with your label. I think these would be fun to make for customers that, you know, have special boxes or tape or any branding on their box. I think that would be really fun. So anyway, I added some decals. I made sure that every facet of my cup, no matter which way you were looking at it, you saw something that resembled a box instead of just some brown boxes or cheese blocks or butter blocks. I am dying. My besties came for my life with that. But anyway, so that's what I did. I just would like to add that I didn't seal my alcohol inks. I didn't do anything to it other than let them dry. And then I applied my decals right on top of it. And then we're going to epoxy it. Okay, so before I epoxy it, I want to show you guys a picture of what it looked like right after I put all the decals. Look at that cute little detail, like the little label, 2468 Bestie Avenue, okay? But anyway, I want you guys' opinion. So first of all, here I am epoxying it. I'm using Artist Resin by CCDIY. I do not recommend using any fast set because it's really thick and it takes a while to get through all those blocks, and you don't want it to get thick. And plus, if it's thinner viscosity, it will self-level much easier than a thicker viscosity like fast set. You guys know that I love my fast set, so it was painful to wait for this to dry. But I love my Artist Resin because you get a nice smooth finish and it doesn't bubble and it doesn't collect on all those little curves and everything, or squares or edges or whatever. But anyway, I want you to drop in the comments what you guys think I should do. I feel like after I'm done applying all my epoxy, I need to use CCDIY's mattifier to mattify these boxes to make them look more realistic. So drop in the comments what I should do. For this tutorial, I'm going to keep it nice and glossy, but let me know if I need to use the mattifier. I will, and I will show a final result in our group. So here they are again, all finished. They have about 2 or 3 coats of epoxy, and look how cute they look. I hope this inspired you to use the dimensional sleeves. Thank you so much to all our Patreons and everybody that supports us. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next week.